Hey, it's Victoria, and you are now listening to the Pass Rush Podcast with your host, DJ Clennon.
Welcome to the Pass Rush Podcast. I'm your host, like Victoria said, DJ Clennon. And if you're a returning viewer, thank you for coming back. And if this is your first time here, well, you're in for something special because you'll be seeing me a lot. Now, you're also here for Mr. Undeniable Rodney Williams, aka Coach Raw, who in the class of 2016 generated over 50 scholarship offers for his class and got so many of them to go to college to play football. Now, himself being in that class, he went on to get the luxury of that too. But not only for just football, he got himself a track offer as well because, well, he runs to greatness. Now, in his time in college football, he developed what we call the elite raw talent experience because it went from being just a recruiting phenomenon of getting athletes a bunch of scholarships to turning into an all-star game, which like a DLC, he had to add more to that, which turned into a 7-on-7 football team, which both partnered with a very successful brand named Phenom Elite, who, I mean, come on now. If you haven't seen their gloves, go and check that out as well. Now, the coolest thing that I saved for last is not only have Rodney coached at Morehouse College and went on to be really successful in the college football world before returning back to high school, Rodney is only 25 years old, and he's gotten over 10,000 scholarship offers generated so far in his career. And the amount of lives that he's changed and still be so humble and genuine is just amazing because he could literally be arrogant and boisterous about it because he's done so much. But the reason why he was able to do so much is because he's always been genuine and good about everything that he does. And it's just excellence. I appreciate him coming on. Thank you. And how are you doing today?
I'm good, man. Appreciate you having me.
Yeah, for sure.
Just grinding, bro. You know how it is. Mid-season, so just trying to make it do what it do.
Oh, yeah, I definitely know that. I see you guys are 3-2, but we'll go ahead and get into that as well. But the first thing I want to ask is just giving the viewers just a chance to really get to know you and like your background and like how you was raised and what got you into playing football and things of that nature.
So I mean, I claim Rockdale. I don't even talk about where I was before that. Rockdale home to me. Every time anybody asks where I'm from, I'm from Rockdale County. So that's all that mattered to me. Just growing up out there, growing up around people like, that you had on the show, TJ Warren, Keegan A. Thomas, Lennon Warner, who played at Florida State. The list goes on. But just growing up around them and being around people that love the game, it was kind of hard not to kind of fall into that as well. It was a lot of it's not peer pressure because it was a great thing to do, but I was like, shit, I'm trying to be like TJ. I'm trying to be like TJ. Because I mean, I grew up in the same neighborhood as them, and they'd go outside and play football, and they was pretty good at it. And then I didn't play in middle school, like 6th, 7th grade when y'all was there, but just watching y'all like dominate people on the field, y'all made it look fun. So 8th grade was my first year playing, and I didn't, you know how it is. Conference was loaded. That's the year we went like undefeated 3 years in a row. So honestly, bro, I didn't even play in 8th grade for real. Special teams guy. But I mean, I grinded hard and ended up getting on the field, at Rockdale, and that's kind of the beginning of my journey right there.
All right, so yeah, that's true. You got onto the field at Rockdale, and for the viewers who may not know much about your playing career versus your coaching career, you actually was not a bad football player because you was actually able to get scholarship offers and then go on to play college football as well. But what would you say about your time at Rockdale? And do you have any regrets about like the way that you played the game there, or do you feel like it's a different position or anything that you would have done that would have led to you continuing to play more after high school into college, or did you just really enjoy your time at Rockdale?
I definitely enjoyed my time there, and a person everybody probably talk about is Coach Nick, right? Coach Nick, basically, I mean, he changed my life. He was my dad outside of school. I mean, outside of home, at the school, on the football field, and Coach Nick took me in and developed me and helped me become the player that I was. And I mean, Shaquem Peters, T.J. Warren, once again, Keegan Thomas, just playing with them every day and learning from them. They was actually some dogs, and Coach Nick threw me into the fire as a sophomore, and going against them every day, I kind of had no choice but to get better. If that makes sense, when you're going against people as good as them, iron sharpen iron, right? So I mean, playing with them, definitely no regrets because they was like big brothers to me, and I learned a lot. Obviously, I know a lot more now. If I knew that then, I think we'd be having a different conversation. But Rockdale definitely changed my life, and I think it changed a lot of people's life around us as well. I mean, there's a lot of us coaching now. There's a lot of us. Shoot, we got some teammates that still play, right? So I think we did pretty good. Where we came from. Obviously, different situations. A lot of us probably could have still been playing today, but I believe in God's plan and everything happened for a reason. So I'm definitely glad. Like I said, anywhere I go, I came from Rockdale County. So I still go back. Obviously, they haven't been as good as us when we was there, but I still go back and support. And anytime they need any help, I'm one call away. I went to go speak to them this summer as well. I mean, even though I coach at a different school, I always trying to find at least 1 or 2 days to go back to Rockdale and take care of home.
And that's real, man. Like to still, even though I'm like, okay, I'm at this high school, and you guys in a couple of weeks are getting ready to play one of our rivals that we had at Rockdale with Newton, and then also you guys will play Grayson as well. Now, that's just so real of you to go and just say like, hey, I want to talk to these guys, still pour into these guys because that's home for me, and that led into what you developed, and developing the raw experience is just I'm gonna put on for Rockdale County no matter what, and I'm gonna make sure people know like I rep Rockdale, and this is it for me. Now, before you got there though, to that point in your life, you went on to take a scholarship offer to Shorter University, and I end up crossing paths with you way later at Shorter. And it's just a time that I kind of like got in the back of my mind, like, man, I really was there because like it really just
You
flew
was there. That's
by.
just crazy. I actually forgot all about that. You said something.
Yeah,
Dang, you was that Shorter.
yeah, I
That's
was
crazy.
there for like a brief moment, and
Yeah, you was.
you guys, was there before. Well, you and your roommate was there before me. But in football wise, what happened at your time at Shorter that led you to end up saying like, you know what, I think what I was doing in high school, because like in high school you was helping recruit, because like although we had coaches, I won't say they was bad, but when it came to like recruiting in the Twitter space, that was new. Like that was something that just started to really pick up. And for your class of 2016, you really, really nailed it, with getting everybody out there, putting offers out there. And when you got the Shorter, I kind of got to take a little bit of a back burner because you're like, I got to play now. But what happened at Shorter that you was like, nah, you know what? This ain't even worth it. I think my vision for this is way better.
So, I mean, football season was fun. I mean, honestly, it really had nothing to do with football. Um, as you know, I was also a track guy, and I was pretty dang good at it. So, after football season, I ended up running track. They made me do a little cross country as soon as football season was over. We talking about 8, 10 miles a day, running for an hour straight, just to cut that football weight off. I ran my first track meet there. It was smooth. And then Christmas break, right? Come home, Christmas break, it's a little cold. I'm trying to stay in shape. I run all the way from basically where we all grew up, right across the street from Carnes Middle School. I ran from basically Carnes Middle School to Rockdale and back, right? And it was cold, and I only had like on a tank top and like a windbreaker. So I got really sick. I got the flu. So I always had like bad asthma. My lower lungs, it wasn't nothing they could really detect. So I went to the doctor, and she's like, "You got the flu." They put me on like this little breathing machine to test my breathing, and it was horrible. They like, you basically could die. They like, if you keep running anytime, like if you run anytime soon, because I had a lot of mucus in my system. I just wasn't where I needed to be to keep exercising. So they told me to take 2 months off, and being a competitor that I am, and understanding the game and understanding the people around me, how hard they work. You talking about 2 months off, and I see how hard, like I see how hard people work. I see how much work it takes to compete at a high level in college. And we talking about a D2, bro. We ain't talking about at D1. And even at D2, bro, it's so competitive. So when they told me 2 months off, I'm like, bro, there's no way I could take 2 months off and still be prepared to play at my highest level, whether that's track or football. So I called Coach Nick, somebody I look up to. I told him my situation, and I was like, man, like as much as I love it, like I don't want to die doing this. Like it ain't that serious to me because I could still do something, impact people, and still be around the game without risking my life every day. So I stepped away from sports, and then I came back home, and Coach Nick once again helped me get my LLC and helped me basically start a business, which I started off with raw recruitment. So and then it just grew from there.
Yeah, and then man, like Coach Nick really, I didn't even know he did all that for you because like
Yeah, man.
as much as I run into Coach Nick, I had no idea that he was like that close with you. I know that he took you on his wing and he really thought you was special, but I didn't know like he was really like basically like a stepdad for you, and that's really cool. Like, well, a mentor, a guide, and that's really cool. So shout out to Coach Nick for that. And basically what the doctors then was telling you is like, man, if you go out there and you keep doing this, you will pass away. And then not only with that, you got the fact that not working out for 2 months is pretty much asking a red shirt or just not play or get kicked off the team because that's a long time. Like 60 days might not seem long, but that's a really long time to not be able to like do like really hard workouts. So I
Yeah.
mean that really is unfortunate. I didn't know that happened to you, even though like I've known you for so much time, but you transitioned over to recruiting, and raw recruiting started as something that benefited not only myself multiple times, as many schools as I went to, but so many people as well. And you've always been so humble about it and very genuine about it. So like that experience I'm sure it didn't come easy. So did you face any setbacks early on with developing raw recruiting? Like, cause those people looking at you, they like, oh man, this guy's still the age to be playing. He 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, and now you're at 25 years old. They're like, why should I listen to him on this player being D1, D2, or whatever? So what setbacks did you face at that point?
That was definitely a setback, my age and people learn to trust me and they don't really know that I have the knowledge of the game because, like you said, I'm the same age as either their kids or the same age as, I was helping JUCO kids and I'm 18 years old, they 21. And like, man, like how do you know more than me? So that was definitely a challenge. So dealing with that, I started off doing everything for free. First like year I didn't make a dime. Then somebody told me like, hey bro, like you can't keep doing this for free. So I started off with like $10 a month. And then that started, people like $10 to help get to school. That's cool. And I was cool with that. And I actually kept a couple good players for free just so I can brand myself and say, okay, I helped this kid get here. I helped this kid get here. Now more people trust me because they see the results. Right. And when you do something and you don't show results, nobody is gonna listen to a word you gotta say, nobody's gonna trust you. Now if you come out and put out results, just like anything, you do from playing, from your job, from schoolwork, when you get results, people, they start to trust you more, they start to think more highly of you. So once I got those results, I really didn't have as many setbacks. The biggest setbacks, I mean, honestly, is dealing with people who were unrealistic. And once again, like, how do I know more than them? I'm only 19, 20 years old, and you're telling me I'm not D1. I'm like, bro, like and once again, this goes back to the people we played with in high school. I've seen D1 talent. I literally played with it. I went D2. I know what D2 talent looked like, and we wasn't good at shorter, bro. We lost every single game. But some of those kids, I felt like were still too good to be there. And when I evaluate tape, I think about people I played with. I think about people I've seen at that level, and when sometimes you're honest to people, they don't want to hear it. So I think that was the biggest setback is dealing with, unrealistic expectations.
And that's realistic to say because a story that you can use to compare that is like everybody wants that Kyle Trask situation where he's the backup for quarterback and the starting quarterback goes to Houston, but he goes to Florida. And like that's just a one-off miracle situation, but that's not going to happen for everybody. And like Kijane said in an interview that I did with him, is that it's just physically impossible for everybody to play college football, especially to play college football now. It even gets smaller at the level you feel like you should be playing at. Like you can think all day you D1 till you blue in the face, but if they don't give you that chance and you don't decide to walk on, it's just not going to happen. So I can see that being a setback, because as many times as I had to come to you and say like, hey man, like what can I get? Like, well, like what could we do on the table? We just put the film out there and see what happened. So I seen you work for people, and I seen the effort that you put in, regardless if they're paying or not paying, you put in the same effort. So I know that's a testament to why raw recruiting became so big now as well. And not only does raw recruiting start off, I remember at Shorter being in there with you, and you like, hey, I want to eventually, work with Phenom Elite. Like I see what they're doing. They was just starting, and Coach Norton was over there first getting that started, and you like, hey man, that looked kind of good. Like I compare what they're doing with those gloves with my vision, we can make something work. And then also just, being a part of the team for a little while, just like helping recruit and things of that nature, learning the ropes of the business. How did the Phenom Elite and Raw, combination get together?
It really started off of All-Star games, right? So I did my first All-Star game, and once again, I wanted to put Rockdale County on. So I did an All-Star game where Rockdale played Gwinnett County, 8th grade, and then Newton County played DeKalb County, 8th grade, and the winners would play each other and the losers would play each other. And the first time we did it, man, I just bought some jerseys off some website and we heat pressed them. So we just heat pressed them, and I only charged like $50 for the game. And they had a good turnout. We played at Alcovy, and it was packed. I mean, I think it was like almost 500 people the first turnout to come spectate. So after he seen that it was possible that we could do an event. And honestly, doing it, like I was 18, but doing it, I didn't realize really what I was doing, bro. Like people say it's so hard to run events and so hard to run All-Star games like that, but I'm pretty sure I planned that junk in like 3 months and off the dome. So um, it's really just, I don't know. It's crazy that like thinking about it, it's just crazy that how it all happened. But after he seen that, um, he kind of was like, "Hey man, I can do the jerseys for you, blah blah blah." And then we did a senior game together and an 8th grade game. So I did a senior game where he did uniforms for them, and the same 8th grade game where he did uniforms for them. That was a success, and it just kept going from there. Then I became a sales rep for him, so I was selling, uniforms for him, and we got a lot of sales off that because they have a lot of great products. And now we do star ratings where we rate sleepers. So if we think a kid is a FCS kid, we rate him a 2-star. We think he's FCS like small G5, 4-star, and then obviously you got your files and stuff. So it's just transformed to something bigger than I think we both ever imagined. Right now, they're next level with their gloves and their cleats, and they came out with so much more from when they first started. But they're doing a good job with hosting more All-Star games. Now they still do mine. They got multiple All-Star games that they do now, 707 teams, and I also have 707 team that they sponsored. So it's just so much we did together, and it's kind of crazy because I was the first All-Star game he did. I was his first 707 team. I was his first anything he's doing now. I kind of was like I tested it out for him, and if it worked, he ran with it, and it ended up working out for him. So, I'm glad to be partnered up with him, and he one of the best in the business for sure.
Yeah, and Coach Norton is a great dude, and everything he does is really great. And it all happened so fast. Like I remember 2017, I'm in the dorm rooms, and I'm just like, this man trying to do an All-Star game, like an All-Star game, like I don't like that's a big ambition. And then it happens so fast, and then it goes on as a success, and then more success, and then more success, and it happens for years, and it continues to grow, and then it becomes a spectacle, and now people expect it every year. And that's something that's a testament to your hard work, because there's been All-Star games that have come and gone, and yours is still around. Like in that time period, even in the time that we've played in high school, it's been All-Star games that people have played in Rockdale, Gwinnett, or whatever in Georgia, that's one off, two offs, and then they done. the All-Star game that's not around anymore that I played in was like the Nuck 5-star All-Star game, and then that's no longer
Yeah.
a thing, and you guys are still just growing. So that is really, really cool to see, and to see that, man, the vision that you had in 2017, now it's 2023 and close to 2024, and there's still so much big things to come. And so you go doing that for a while, and your recruiting starts to really pick up. It starts to just start excelling. And then you decide, like, hey, I'm a college liaison. I want to work with some colleges on a more personal level. And then eventually, from building that bridges with pros and other athletes, you decide to take on, coaching jobs now. It's not like, okay, I ain't going to just worry about my stuff. I actually want to start coaching. So who gave you your first coaching opportunity, and like how did that go to decide, like, hey, I want to actually coach now as well?
That's crazy because I didn't try to coach. That's the crazy part. So before I went to Morehouse, I was just doing recruiting for multiple high schools. Still running my business. So I stopped working with individual kids and parents, and just started focusing on helping high schools because a lot of high schools didn't have recruiting coordinators. So I worked with Brookwood, I worked with Eastside, I worked with Loganville, I worked with Mountain View, and the list goes on. Um, and I mean, it was a success. And after that, I got hired at Morehouse to be director of player personnel. That's it. Do like social media and stuff like I always done. So I'm going through the spring. I'm hosting official visits. Um, you know, I'm running camera stuff at the for practices. And posting stuff on social media. So when I got there, they only had like 4,000 followers on Twitter, and by the time I left, it was 6,000, 16,000. So, um, that's all I was doing at first. And then come summertime, we had a tight end coach take another job. And you know how it is. And to hire another coach in the summer, you already installed all your plays. We're talking about June, July. At that point, we play in about 2, 3 months. So my head coach called me, Rich Freeman, and was like, "Hey, I need you to coach a position." I'm like, what? Coach a position? Like, when I tell you, bro, I never coached a position ever in my life. Like, all I've been doing is recruiting. But sometimes God do things for you that you don't plan for yourself, and it's all in. It's what He got for you, and it's just part of the journey. So I ended up coaching tight ends, and it was kind of crazy to me because out of all positions you can coach, I feel like tight ends is probably one of the most difficult positions you can start off at. And people might think it's easy, but you talking about learning the run game, the pass game. Sometimes you got to pass block, you got to run route. It's just that's one position that's involved in everything, just like the O line. You know what I'm saying? Receivers, yeah, they run, but all they know is they blocking. They know all the route. It's not as complicated as I could coach running backs, bro. You know what I'm saying? Something simple, corners, something I played, but it was tight end. So I embraced it, and I actually had 2 seniors, 1 junior. So I was kind of lucky. And I had 2 all conference tight ends who both ended up hitting the transfer portal because they graduated from Morehouse, and one of them ended up going D1. The other one went to Virginia Union, who's like top 25 in the country. So I feel like for my first little gig, I did a good job. So it definitely lit a spark in me though, and the grind and understanding what coaches really go through. Because all I was doing knew was recruiting, and now once you get the other side of it of coaching and the work that it takes to develop these players, and I mean, bro, it's tough to win games, right? And a lot of people don't know that. They think, just go out there, do your job, and you should win. But it's not like that. It's hard to get wins, and it's easy to get losses. So I definitely learned a lot, and it sparked a little bit in me. And once I left there, I just knew I wanted to keep coaching, and recruiting wasn't just the only thing I wanted to do.
And I was just about to get to asking you that, like, so, like, where did that leave you? Like, did it make you say, like, I want to keep doing this, or nah, I just want to go back? But you answered that, and not only did you answer that, you said that you pretty much quadrupled their social media status. So they go from 4 to 6,000 followers, and then you take them up to 16. I mean, you just do a really, really well job there, and then you got the players that you had. You got 2 seniors and 1 junior, and they go on to be all conferences, and they get so much recognition that they like, hey, I can kind of probably leave Morehouse if I, let me just see what's out there. And they went and seen what was out there, and they ended up leaving. So that just shows like everything that you've touched, you kind of turned to gold, and that's that's really cool to see. But now you end up back at Brookwood. So did you face any? But before we get to that part, did you face any challenges like after that, like coming back to recruiting, just saying like, hey, okay, I want to go back from college coaching. I don't really try to move forward on that. I want to just go back to the recruiting and have the schedule that you want to have. Like you kind of control what you want to do. And the world was your oyster at the time. You could have, chose to keep going up to more colleges, or you could have, been a head coach at a high school probably at this point with all the experience that you had. So what really led to your decision that made you want to go to Brookwood?
To be honest, man, it's really personal. Because I've interviewed for Utah State, Western Kentucky, and so on and so forth, like other schools. As we talked about, before this, like I got a newborn now. So what happened was, wife got pregnant, and her family lives in Georgia, actually not too far from Brookwood. And it's hard to ask, for your first child to move to Utah or Kentucky or Oregon, wherever you want to move. And you know how it is with coaching. And once you get into it and you start moving around, like my uncle coached college and he coaching the NFL now, and he's lived in 12 different states, bro. You know what I'm saying? So that's something that takes a toll on not just you but your family as well, and the decisions you make. So um, right now, I think I want to be more a family man, but I still want to stay around what I love. So I think the best way to do that was, go back to somewhere I felt comfortable, somewhere I felt like was family, which was Brookwood. And me and the head coach, Coach Jones, got a great relationship. Probably one of the best coaches in the state and one of the most genuine people I've been around. So it was a no-brainer to go back and to work with him because I knew he would, bring me back in with open arms, and I knew I could bring my son around there and my wife would be happy there. And once again, her family's around here, so we got help 5-10 minutes away. So honestly, that decision was more personal than it was a career thing. But at some point, I do want to obviously get back in college. And to be honest, doing this and coaching at a high school is kind of helping my decision to if I want to be a position coach in college or do I want to just stick to the recruitment side. Because like I said, it's two different grinds. And I learned that at Morehouse, going from being a director, player personnel, and coaching, it was two different levels of work. Like the grind is totally different, honestly.
Yeah, and that's true. And any coach who's listening to this, they know that your decision that you made doesn't come lightly, because you might have dreamed to be like, hey, I always wanted to do this, but then your family's, situation happens, and it's just like, okay, which one do I lean more on? And you chose the same thing I would have chose. Like, okay, let me do something that's best for my family, instead of being like, hey, we're gonna take everybody, us three, and we're gonna go here. We ain't got nobody out here. We're gonna go do
Yeah.
this. And I mean, you continue to chase it, but you never know what can happen with that. You get out there, that coaching staff get fired in 2 months or something, and a new guy comes in and he, does what Dion did and be like, hey, everybody got to go. And now you way out there and you like, dang,
Back to square one.
back. So what you chose was a safer and more efficient option, because now, again, you can do everything that you love and you can still have your family there with you, because you guys have been together a long time, you and your wife. And
Yeah, she went to Rockdale as well. So.
yeah, you guys been together a really long time, and it just makes sense. Like, to do what's best for all of y'all, because you still got your family nearby. Coach Nick ain't too far away. Like, it just makes sense to be like, okay, anything happens, I'm good, and I still get to do what I love. I still get paid for it. It just all makes sense. So now you're back to Brookwood. You said they open you, they bring you in with open arms and things of that nature there. Where do you see Rodney going now that you're at Brookwood? Like you said, you was getting ready to make that choice to say like whether you wanted to do the position or the recruiting. Which one are you leaning more towards now?
Honestly, man, I talk about this all the time with everybody. Coaching college and coaching high school is two different things, right? When you coach in college, and it depends on the level too. You got kids who either want to go to the league or at that point they're just playing it because they got that free education. All right, I feel like high school kids are a little bit more hungry because nowadays, I mean, everybody want to go to college, everybody want to go D1. It's a little bit different grind from high school kids and college kids. Another thing is your high school kids, you kind of can develop them a little bit more and break those habits right before they get to college. So I feel like I got more of a change in these kids' lives in high school, getting them to college and developing their skill set because there's not a lot of people who can help kids get to college. Once you get to college, I mean, they're already there, and there's not a lot of coaches that can help kids develop and become pros either. But I think, what I specialize in is helping young men in high school develop to become good college players and next level. So, I mean, I'm loving the high school thing right now. I got a good group of corners, and I played corner, so it's kind of I'm getting into because we so young, and you try to compare the kids to you and like, hey, I could have did that, I could do this, but it's kind of cool to see how many different personalities and skill sets and how everybody's different. And I enjoy coaching different type of talent every day and developing them into their own player. And I think that's a gift that everybody don't have, and I definitely enjoy that. So if I had to say, I don't plan on leaving Brookwood no time soon.
And that's real, man. Like, they made you feel comfortable, and you say, "Hey, like, I ain't in no rush to make this decision. Like, how I feel today ain't gonna be how I feel there, because like I got Brookwood, they good to me. I just really see myself here." And with that, you guys are doing pretty well this season. You're 3-2 at the current standing. I did a little research on y'all, and you actually got a girl kicker, a girl
Mm-hmm.
kicker.
Caitlyn, yep.
And how's that been? Like, because we've never been on no team with no girl on the actual team. So how's that been with the high school boys taking in having a girl kicker, and how do they treat her as well?
Honestly, bro, it's really no different. They treat her like a teammate, and they embrace her like she's family because she is. And the coaches treat her and coach her hard just like we coach anybody else. Um, you know, we celebrate with her when she does something great, and we all lift her up when she make a mistake. So I don't think it's no different between how they treat the male teammates and her. I mean, she's just like one of them. It's kind of like some people say she really just one of the guys. You know what I'm saying? So um, it's really nothing too like different about it. We ain't jumping in the air, smacking around the helmet and nothing like that. So, we're a little bit more cautious with her when we celebrate and stuff like that. But other than that, I mean, she's just a teammate, and she's a great player for us as well. She won us the game against Carver Columbus 2 weeks ago with an onside kick, and then she kicked the game winning field goal. So she just did something with Fox 5, a little interview. So, we happy for her, and everybody got nothing but great things to say about her. She's a great teammate.
Man, that's really special, and that's a testament to you guys' culture that you have at Brookwood, where it's like, man, you can put an elephant on the team, we still gonna treat them the same, because that's how we feel. Like, we all about family, family, family with the
Yep.
team. And with Caitlyn being the kicker there, that's just really special. What you guys are doing is just really special. You got some guys who got some offers. I know that you got a corner that recently got like Akron, and UAB is an offer as well. So is there any special players outside of him or even him that you would like to like shout out for your team, and that you really feel special about?
Man, it's a long list. We'd be here all night, but I mean him, Day Pearson. He's only a sophomore, 5'10", about 165. It's actually his first year playing corner. If you watch the tape, it'd be hard to tell. Real coachable and real technique sound. And to be honest, bro, like I feel like Coach Nick, and he's like me when I was little. I take him on my wing. I take him home every day. I, mentor him, and I coach him up because I want him to be the best he can be, and I'm real hard on him. And sometimes he feel like I'm picking on him and sending him out, but he reminded me a lot of me when I played and how much heart and how much he loved the game. So he's definitely one. I'm glad you brought him up because I was gonna bring him up anyway. But we got a safety, Caleb Neal that's committed to App State. Heck of a player as well. We got 22-7 running back that got once again that's a freshman, so he's a dog. He got Arkansas, South Carolina, Tennessee, South Florida, Wisconsin, Oregon. The list goes on. 6'1", 215 pounds as a freshman. So um, he'd be one that everybody had their eyes on. And once you get to interviewing players and stuff, he'd probably definitely be one you need to get on here. And we got a lot of special players. Ones that's a sleeper is our receiver. He got Tuskegee and UVA Wise. Once again, we talk about me evaluating. He has D2 offers, but he's definitely a FCS guy. And I know we didn't touch on this, but it's hard for kids like that to now go D1 with the transfer portal. So right now, I'm just trying to keep them focused on winning these games and getting these touchdowns and doing what he do. But obviously, it's stressful for kids who is that talented and he can play at a high level, and these older kids getting the opportunity over him. So that's something we're dealing with right now with a lot of our kids. We're super talented, but a lot of the D1 talent these days got to go D2 or G5 talent got to go FCS. So that's a little bit of struggle that we're dealing with right now. But other than that, man, we got a great group of guys, and we're looking to finish strong as we go into region play.
Yeah, and that's a really good segue to bring up the transfer portal and how that has affected just the kids today and their recruiting, because I don't even know how many of us would have reacted with this situation at hand, because mentally most high school kids are like a D1 or bust at first, like until reality starts to set in, whenever it does, some faster than others. But to get told like, okay, D1s used to have 70 scholarships. Now they only really looking to give out 5 of those to high school and the other 65 to, transfer portal guys.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really a hard reality to deal with, even as coaching and recruiting and all those things, to make your guy seem so special that he's one of those 5, because it's harder now because of how small it is. And then on top of that, you have the freshman guy who's just so good at what he does already at an early age, 6'1", 215. Like, he's just a monster. So he's bringing so much attention to the team as well. So that's a good thing. But man, it's just, you guys got a lot going on, and coaching high school now is probably way harder than college, because of that one aspect of getting those athletes to still buy in the same way. Because, okay, I'm gonna go hard, and I know I might not get a D1 chance, but the D2 level is benefiting from it, because they getting so much talent that they think are steals, that the conferences just boost up, and now more NFL talent. I mean, NFL scouts will look at D2 because they're like, okay, we know the situation, so we know that's where a lot of those, okay, maybe they need a 1 to 2 years to develop and they'll be a monster type of guys went to, or those guys who had like a late year ball out, like maybe they started balling out their senior year. So it was like, okay, you didn't get those D1 guys' attention, go to D2 and ball out there and become an All-American, a record holder, whatever the case may be. So, man, that's a good segue, because I know that's really hard to talk to them about. And again, it's new. It's still all new.
Well, like you said, you can go D2 NAIA and ball out, and that's the good thing. The good part about transfer portal, because if you go to a D2 NAIA and ball out for a year or two, you still probably got 2 or 3 years left of eligibility. So you do what you're supposed to. You still could go D1, even if you didn't go there from the start. So, like I talked to Kennesaw State coaches all the time. They took a kid from Reinhardt who is now a starter at Kennesaw State. So you go from NAIA to D1, and you starting as soon as you get there, because now, like a high school kid, you're more developed. You've already been in the college system. Your body has, you know, filled in, and you grew into yourself, and mentally you're way more advanced than a 17, 18-year-old. So it's kind of hard these days, because do you take a high schooler or do you take a D2 kid who's already developed and ready? It's it's not really much a high schooler can do than other than to try to be the best on the field every Friday night and be better than some college players off rip. So it's a tough situation for sure. But I mean, even at Morehouse, every kid we signed was mainly from either a JUCO or another high school. Like, we hit the portal so hard. I think we signed 5 high school kids, and the rest of them were all JUCO and transfer portal kids. So it's just right now it's just an answer to rebuild so much faster. If you look at it now, like Florida State, even Colorado, and so many others, they hit the portal so hard, and now look at them, they all dominating. So it's just easier to repair your team. We can go get kids that's so much more developed and got so much more experience.
Yeah, that's true. And then those high school guys really don't understand yet the mindset difference on why coaches are leaning that way. Because an 18-year-old, because we've all been there, you think, man, ain't nothing special about, those 22-year-olds, those 21-year-olds, those guys, like, man, ain't nothing special. Like, I can do what they do. But in reality, their mindset is a little different, that allows them to be just a little bit more enticing, because they got to college. And if they still there, they made the adjustment, because when you get to being a freshman, you might get homesick. You might just not go to class. You might not do well with the freedom. You might not work as hard anymore in the weight room. All those things like come into play. And if they 22 years old, they realize that stuff. Like the interviews that I've done already, you can hear it in their voices as well. Like they're speaking the same thing. Like, man, 26, 27, 25 years old, and you just like, man, if I had this mindset I had now when I was playing, telling what my career would have went like. And that's a reality that they'll one day reach, where it's like, dang, okay, I see why they was taking those 22-year-olds, because now I'm 22 and I'm like, ain't no way no 18-year-old can compete with me. Like my mindset is just different now. Like they can't compete with me. And that's what you want as a coach, because they already beaten the mental game. And in high school, you're still learning that. And it's just tough though, and you guys are balancing that really well at Brookwood to still be getting guys offers on the table, because there's high schools out there who probably struggling to get just their best player one offer, just something, because those college coaches, they have already been saying it. Why take them when they can go? We can wait to see how they pan out in JUCO, because the JUCO is already the hard part. And that started, like, I can't imagine how bad it is now, because when I went to Dodge out of high school in Dodge City, we had over 200 guys who was all supposed to be D1 come in, and they still had the Kansas rule, in fact, where only 10 on each side, and we didn't know about that until the last minute. So you got all these people out here competing. You got 10 quarterbacks at one school, 3 of them never lost a game in their life, and you trying to figure out, who you go play. And the confidence, like you always been that guy. Now you're not that guy right off rip. So you're trying to adjust to that. It's so many different things that you go through. And again, you guys are balancing that well at Brookwood. You guys got a tough schedule coming up. You got Grayson, you got Archer, you got Newton County, things of that nature there. And definitely going to be watching that Newton County one, because that's a rival. I know they still a rival in your heart as well. Like no matter where I'm at, I do not want to, lose to Newton. But man, it's been a pleasure having you on. I know you got your newborn, you got coaching, you got so many other things to do. So I didn't want to take up too much of your time, but it's been a pleasure having you on. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Rodney Williams, Coach Raw, and everybody in the area of Gwinnett, Rockdale, Covington, and even DeKalb, they all have had the pleasure to be, to work with Coach Raw at some point in their career, and know that, he's just trying to do the best for anybody he can. And that's a testament to his success now. So again, appreciate having you on. Got a lot of love for you, because you helped me out so much as well. And I hope you have a great one, man. Take care.
Yes, sir. Appreciate you having me, bro.
Up and I shake the room.